We will call to order the regular board meeting for the Chicago Board of Election Commissioners of the City of Chicago. Good morning. My name is Maricel Hernandez. Seated to my left is Commissioner Jonathan Swain, and to my right is Commissioner William Cressy. The next item on the agenda is the consideration of the agenda. Are there any recommended changes? If not, we will proceed with the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of April 11, 2017. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Goff is not here today, and so we will turn to our Assistant Executive Director, Kelly Bateman.
Good morning. I have nothing to report today. Office is just moving along, obviously, with work that they have, and that's it.
Okay. Short and sweet. Mr. Allen, our Communications Director.
Good morning, Commissioners. I won't be as short, sorry. At the last meeting, you approved the settlement agreement with the Department of Justice regarding the ongoing efforts toward securing polling places that are 100% accessible under the newest standards under the Americans with Disabilities Act. This has been a cooperative effort, as we mentioned before, between the Justice Department, the Election Board, and our partners at Equip for Equality to evaluate all of our polling sites to identify any possible barriers. And continuing in that effort, last week, the Justice Department provided us with a preview of their news release. We had no edits and agreed with the content. We also issued our news release in tandem, which had a different focus on how the board will likely need to make modifications or site changes to several hundred polling places. The board staff is finishing the proofreading of the data from the massive survey that was performed during the 2016 general election, so that we may begin sharing it with various city agencies, hopefully later today. That includes the libraries, the park district, the school system, and so on. This will begin the planning and budgeting effort to identify which polling places can be modified to become ADA compliant and which polling places we will need to replace. We've also begun the outreach with Democratic and Republican committeemen and the members of the City Council with information on polling places in the individual wards and which ones might need either modifications or replacement. Secondly, since the last board meeting, we hosted a very successful voting equipment mini expo. It was geared mostly for the general public. 4 vendors presented in the order of a random drawing: Clear Ballot, Harp Intercivic, Election Systems and Software, and Canadian Voting Systems. Each vendor was provided 30 minutes to give a presentation. There were then 30 minutes after each presentation for members of the public to pose questions. We were able to get through each question that was posed by the public and submitted through the DM, or the dais. And in the interest of transparency, we videotaped the proceedings, and all of the videos have been posted on the internet. They were up the next day. So I'm pleased to report that we had very positive feedback from not only the vendors, but also members of the general public who were in attendance, many of whom, there were about 40 people there, who were there all day. So lastly, we're preparing the specifications for the full canvas, which we anticipate to mail in August, and that'll help us clean up the rolls. Those are it, the most significant items we have.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, and thank you for organizing that event, and it was excellent. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll proceed now with old business, infrastructure projects and changes in election administration. I think we just addressed part of that. And electronic poll books. John, anything new?
No, really. I think the board has completed the post-election work, and everything's finished. So
Okay, thank you.
on to the sites on the next election, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. We just addressed voting equipment, and Mr. Scanlon, is there anything on legislation?
Nothing specific to report at this time, Madam Chairwoman. The General Assembly was in recess the last 2 weeks, and they're coming back this week. And so there may be some action beginning this week, and I will keep the commissioners apprised of any new developments. We'll get to answer any questions if there aren't.
Okay, thank you. We'll then proceed to new business, and the first item on the agenda is the precinct redistricting affecting 2 precincts of the 13th Ward. Mr. Scanlon, would you like to, or Kelly?
I think Ms. Bateman is going to
Thank
report
you.
on it.
Yes, thank you. Yes, precincts 15 and precincts 40 of the 13th Ward, we were asked to move 3 blocks in order to even out the number of precincts, the number of registered voters within the 2 precincts, which we have done. So it encompasses 2 blocks. I believe you have maps in your materials. So we're just asking for approval.
I'm sorry, I
Yes.
couldn't hear you. What was the rationale for doing this?
We were asked to even out the number of registered voters. The number of registered voters was quite significantly different, so we were asked to somewhat make them more close to each other. Right now, it's the number of registered voters in precinct 40 is 478, whereas the number of registered voters in precinct 15 is 891. So if we were to approve this, the number would go precinct 40 651. Precinct 15, 718, so numbers would be closer. Number of registered voters within the 2 precincts.
So the 2 precincts, I'm sorry, again, are which ones?
Precinct 15 and precinct 40 of the 13th Ward.
So 40 just extended a little east.
Correct.
Are there any further questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the changes in precincts 40 and 15 within the 13th Ward?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the consideration and approval of the preliminary 2018 election calendar. Mr. Scanlon?
Madam Chairwoman and Commissioners, you have before you a preliminary 2018 election calendar. The reason why it is labeled as preliminary at this point in time is that many of the signature requirements that would be based on some formulaic approach to determining the minimum signature requirements have not yet been determined by either the State Board of Elections for statewide candidates, legislative candidates, and judicial candidates, or by the Cook County Clerk with respect to county offices. So those will need to be developed by those 2 agencies and then subsequently plugged into the handbook, which time we can take the preliminary label off. Another change I would note, in the past, we've had an entry the day before each election day with regard to a deadline that's imposed by the statute for advising election authorities, including the board, when a person, a voter with disabilities, would request additional assistance in the way of curbside voting. And the statute requires that they notify the election authority in writing the day before the election. In practice, we've never required that notice be given in writing. We provide that service whenever it's requested, even on the day of the election. And so we would continue to do so, and it's especially significant in terms of the settlement agreement we reach with the Department of Justice with regard to voting accessibility for voters with disabilities. So we've removed those 2 entries. Other than that, I think the calendar is significantly similar to the calendar that was adopted in 2014 when we had the last gubernatorial election. So I would recommend that the preliminary 2018 election calendar be approved.
Just to confirm, according to the preliminary calendar, no petitions would be filed with this agency for these upcoming elections?
Not by candidates. For referenda, yes. For advisory referendum, yes, they would be filed with the board. But no candidate petitions would be filed with the board. Those would all be filed with either the State Board of Elections or the Cook County Clerk's Office.
If there are no further questions regarding the election calendar, is there a motion to approve the preliminary 2018 election calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes and the preliminary calendar is approved. Next on the agenda is the legal report. Mr. Scanlon.
Madam Chairwoman, unless the commissioners have any questions, nothing to report at this time.
And we have a financial report. Is there a motion to approve a balance sheet and voucher listing for the City of Chicago 2017 appropriation number 17-03 dated April 25th, 2017 in the amount of $465,274.66. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Now we will proceed to public comment, and we have Mr. Lentner from Beverly CPA here. Hi. You brought your fan club with you?
I did. This is my youngest son. He came with me. He just turned 3 yesterday. So 2032 is his first chance to vote. Thank you for letting us come. I've been a registered voter in Chicago for nearly 20 years. And every election that I've been to has been neat and orderly. So I really appreciate the work that you put into running the elections here in Chicago. As you know, we read in the news last fall that hacker groups had stolen data from Illinois voter rolls, electronic voter rolls, and 200,000 records. I've got the article if you want to see. So I came with a question, a suggestion, and an invitation. Question is, are there protections in place for voter data and our polling data here in the city of Chicago?
And Mr. Allen, would you like to respond?
Yes. It's a very good question. The hack that you're referencing occurred not with any local election authority, but with the State Board of Elections online voter registration system.
Okay.
So each agency had its own data. It's one of these situations where the state board collects the registrations for every county in the state, every municipality, and then distributes the data for either name and address changes or brand new registrations. He's welcome to join us.
I went to the rodeo.
There you go.
In any event, no data was changed at the local level.
Right.
No data were affected at the local level. The voter data that we post as an election board onto the web is on entirely separate servers, segregated, so that we feed out a very limited amount of information, only the amount of information that's necessary to help the voters. So it has their name, their address, their voter registration number, no personal identifying information, no dates of birth, years of birth, no partial social security numbers, no anything, not even a unit number if they live in an apartment building. So you're only gonna, so the user is only, the user on the website is only going to retrieve the information that they already have with the last name and the address, and then the districts that correspond to that address and the polling place location, and the sample ballot. So there's no personal information that's available on our website.
Okay.
So we take that very seriously. We had had a review of that situation going back to 2006. And so we're very cautious about that, but it's entirely separate from any database here at the board.
Fantastic.
And Mr. Allen, isn't our information is very secure?
The voter registration system is housed here at the board, is maintained on the servers, and then different users have the ability to go in, but there's no ability to hack into that, and it's backed up every day, even if there were a method. So you can never say never.
Right.
With situations like that. It's foolhardy it's an invitation to be hacked.
Right.
But it is backed up every night.
So you can restore it if it's
Yeah, we can restore it, absolutely.
And the polling data that comes from the polling places back to the office?
There are two separate systems that do not touch each other. One is recording who voted among the voters, and the other is records the ballot selections. Those are not intertwined. Both of those are adequately secure. There are paper backups for the voting records of who voted, and there are paper backups for every ballot that's cast as well. So, and those, by law, are the ultimate record, not anything electronically stored.
Wonderful. That'll be good. I'm going to share this when I get back with our team down there. And my suggestion for consideration is I think it would be wonderful if candidates for office had the opportunity to challenge an opponent who may have used illegally obtained or hacked information in the course of their campaign, and be able to present that before an election judge, so that a preponderance of evidence could yield some kind of consequence for anyone who conspires to steal data or conspires to campaign in an illegal or unethical manner. So if there's an opportunity for either a local ordinance or a state law that would allow somebody to challenge their candidates.
Well, that would even be a criminal violation.
We know how long criminal trials take, much longer than your average campaign. And if a hearing judge, if a campaign election judge could see the evidence and make a ruling in an expedient manner, the way that petition challenges and things like that are handled, it may be a helpful way to prevent these things from interfering with future elections. And then my last point, like I said, I really appreciate what you do here, and I thank you for the information about the security protocols that you have. We have an open meeting in Beverly on...
Got a fan.
I think he likes you. We have an open meeting on Tuesday, May 9th at 7 p.m. in Beverly. If you'd like to send a representative and just kind of briefly explain how secure our elections here in Chicago, I think it would put a lot of people's minds at ease. So please feel free to join us. My contact information is on the form. And if someone's available to come by, I would really appreciate it. It would only take 15 to 20 minutes of your time.
I'm the keeper of the clock here,
Okay.
and your time's expired. But if I may, if you've got a few extra minutes after the meeting ends, since I also live in Beverly,
Okay.
and I'm also you're a CPA, I'm a CPA,
Okay.
I speak CPA. If I stop in my office afterward,
I'll do that.
We'll chat.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I believe that is the only individual who provided us with a public comment request form. I don't see anyone else. Mr. Scanlon, is there a need for executive session?
No, Madam Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Allen, is there a need for
I defer to Mr. Scanlon, the
You
other
picked up a
two.
fan club now.
Okay, if there is nothing further, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting on Tuesday, May 9th, 2017 at 9 a.m. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.